This is George Dionne with Metal Express Radio, and I'm here with Todd Michael Hall. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing great, George. Nice to be on the show.
You are the frontman of Riot V. You are also releasing a solo album called Sonic Healing on May 7th through Rat Pack Records. If I knew absolutely nothing about your solo music, how would you describe that to me?
My solo music, I think the easiest explanation is classic rock inspired. Probably that's the easiest explanation, or I call it old school rock, but you can't call it classic rock because obviously classic rock means it's classic and everybody's bought a million copies of it, and that's certainly not it. But it's definitely, I was going for that vibe of when I was in my youth, and there was just rock over the radio, and there was just a lot of positive energy around the music, and everybody, I don't know, it was just everybody wanted to go to the shows and whatnot have you, and so yeah, that's really what it's all about, I think. Great vocals, or great kind of melodies and memorable guitar riffs. If you're older like me, there was a commercial for K-Tel back in the day for a product that they had called Freedom Rock, and I remember Kurdt and I were joking about it when we made it, and when we were talking about making the album, and it was like the old hippie guy's like, well, what's that, dude? And he goes, it's Freedom Rock, and we'll turn it up, dude. So there you go, man. It's Freedom Rock or whatever that's supposed to mean.
That commercial was legendary.
Yeah. I need to find that on YouTube, remind myself. So.
Yeah, you definitely, I think I've listened to the album. You have a kind of a Styx meets Boston meets Rush kind of vibe there. Definitely that 70s classic radio rock that I grew up with. I'm close to your age. So you've released one single from the album so far, Overdrive. Do you want to talk a little bit about that song?
Yeah, Overdrive is, we had a little trouble deciding, what we want to release for the first single, because on one hand, you're like, well, we want something that speaks for the whole album, and then we want something that's got energy and that to it. I think right from early on, we were thinking, that Overdrive would be the lead single on the album, just because it has this energy that kind of pulls you in. And then after we made the videos, we actually shot videos for that and for Let Loose Tonight. Which actually will be the second single. And we were debating which one, and we ended up going with Overdrive. And Overdrive, yeah, it's just a great driving song. It has an energy that just kind of really pulls you in. And I don't know, people call it a classic driving song. I've had some people joking that when they listen to it in their car, I'm like, be careful, you're going fast.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the second single as well?
Yeah, I mean, the second one is for a song called Let Loose Tonight, and that one is definitely got that. Even when Kurdt originally gave me the music, there's just something just so pleasant about it. It's just got this total old school rock vibe. It's definitely not the same as Overdrive, but that one really, and then the style is just all about, it's basically about people like you and I, kind of the workday stiffs who like to rock on the weekends, and that's essentially what it's about, I mean, we even are, the video is kind of gauged around that too. It's like this everyday guy who has to work all week long, but then likes to let loose a little on the weekends, and he plays in a band. And although in this case I wasn't the actor, the drummer Dustin was nice enough to be the actor for it, because he's like a contractor and stuff, so they had him doing some stuff, so it was kind of cool.
Now, you and Kurdt Vanderhoof of Metal Church worked on this album. How did you guys hook up for this project?
We got hooked up by Joe O'Brien from Rat Pack Records. I had known Joe from when Riot kind of negotiated with them about possibly releasing Armor of Light on Rat Pack, and I'd also actually knew Joe before that. I'm the one who introduced Joe to Riot, because I had worked on, Joe had contacted me out of the blue and just asked me to put vocals on a cover tune song for him, Triumph, Fight the Good Fight, but he never released it. After Joe and I talked about doing a solo album, but then he was thinking more heavy metal, I was thinking old school rock, and then later on we didn't do anything. And then later on, after being on The Voice, about the time I think Jukebox Hero had about 1 million views, right after it came out or whatever, I contacted Joe and said, man, I really like to do something in this old school rock vein. What can we do? And I said, I have a bunch of ideas. Can you hook me up with somebody to help me transform, from my singer-songwriter style into more like a hard rock style? And he's like, I think I have a guy. And he came back and said, look, I'm, I know Kurdt, Metal Church is on Rat Pack, and so is Presto Ballet's, Kurt's side project. And so he hooked the two of us up, and Kurdt absolutely loves old school rock. So do I. We, bonded over the various bands that we love, from Foreigner to Boston to Styx and, Triumph, Rush, all that sort of great stuff. And the funny part is Kurdt was like, I gave him like 25 songs. I said, hey, listen to these songs. And he's like, yeah, you got some good ideas there, but I'll tell you what, let's just start by me, pouring out some songs. And I've never experienced anything like this, but he just like, once he like puts his focus on and turns on the spigot, so like over the course of 21 days, he wrote music and gave me real nice polished demos for like 18 songs over the course of 3 weeks. And it was amazing. And over about a 4-week time period, kind of overlapping with that, I wrote lyrics for like 16 of the songs. So we just had this amazingly productive period, and we never did go back to any of my ideas, just because Kurdt, had produced such great stuff, and it was right where we wanted to be, in the pocket of the music and everything. So
I think a lot of people don't remember that Kurdt had a side project outside of Presto Ballet and Metal Church called Vanderhoof. It sounds very similar to the music that you have on this album.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. And actually, a little bit of trivia, the bass player, and I put bass player in quotes because he's not really a bass player. He's a singer more than anything. His name's Drew Hart, and
that was the singer.
He's in both of my videos. So the blonde bass player in my videos, who happens to be from Michigan, but he was from the west side of the state. And he and I are the same age, and we grew up with a lot of the same influences and play in the clubs, but he was western side, I was eastern side, so we never bumped into each other. But yeah, we're like long-lost brothers at this point. But yeah, and Drew was the vocalist on the Vanderhoof album, and he sent me a link to the songs because I hadn't heard that album. And yeah, it does have some similarities to that.
The bonus tracks I didn't have a chance to listen to, are they in the same vein, or did you kind of take some experiments with the bonus tracks that are included?
I think the bonus tracks are a little more experimental. I think what happened is, we ended up with kind of 15 new songs that were recorded. There were 10 that seemed like they were really solidly even though they're not all the same, they just felt like they were all in the same pocket, and that seemed like what made the most sense. And we knew we wanted to do vinyl, and Joe even wanted to do cassette, and on those you have limitations on the amount of music you could put on. So those 10 became the core, and then anybody that buys those, I think, gets a download link for like 2 bonus tracks that are also on the CD. And the bonus tracks, one is called "On the Other Side," which is a song I wrote about my brother John, who passed away, and then the other one is a song called "Not with a Sword," and that actually is a bit different sounding. It's like a tune. The E strings tuned down to D, has a little bit of a different sound to it. So it kind of didn't necessarily fit in with the other songs as much. And then there are 3 more songs that were recorded that are on. There's like a bonus CD with like 7 songs on it. 3 of those, 3 more of them are originals. And yeah, I think just sound wise, there's another one. There's one called. Oh my God, Rise Again, which is very similar, I think, in the vein. It was kind of one of the, there's some that end up on the chopping floor that you're like, oh well. And then the other 2 were a little different. So yeah, that's probably why they didn't end up on the album. And then we did 4 cover tunes also. So that's how you get the 7 songs on the bonus tracks.
Awesome. Let's talk about your time on The Voice now. Rock and roll guys don't typically get a fair shake on these shows, so I why'd you decide to give it a try?
Well, I in my defense, or in all honesty, I hadn't really watched the show a whole lot before that. I just seen, I hadn't studied a whole season. I just saw bits and pieces and knew the concept and stuff. For me, I just, I have certainly a pop side of me, or a pop sensibility. When I write myself with an acoustic, it tends to be just a little more poppy sound and singer-songwriter stuff anyway. But I think more than anything, like I wasn't worried about winning. I just thought it'd be fun to get on. I thought, well, basically for me, it was like an experience. Like, first of all, I'm going to this open cattle call in Chicago. What are the odds they'll even pick me? Right. Slim. And then what are the odds I'll get past that and get past, and make all the different stages. And so I think for me, it was really just, like, I don't know, nothing to lose. Just, it's like I already have a day job. So it's just, I figure I'll just go have some fun. I would say that the song selection process is a little frustrating for me. Like the Jukebox Hero was my song. It was my song all along. I did it from, I think that's what got me it. You know, I did it from the original a cappella walk-in tryout. I did it on the callbacks. I did it on, they had callbacks the next day. And actually I did Judas Priest, Another Thing Coming. And I also did Journey, Don't Stop Believing. And then when I did the executive callbacks, I had that. I had Jukebox Hero, and I had a Bon Jovi song, Wanted Dead or Alive. I think the hard part is once you get in the thick of it, those first couple rounds, the battle round and the knockout round, the song selection process is not just, hey Todd, what do you want to sing? It's more complicated than that. That's about as much as I'll say. And I wasn't my battle round song, the song. Oh God, sorry, that I did with Joey, Tina Turner song. That was a complete, total surprise. It turned out it was very much in my pocket, vocally speaking, so somebody knew what they were doing. But that was a total surprise for both Joey and I. It was not on either of our lists. And then the knockout round song, that process was a little weird for picking it, and I didn't necessarily want that song necessarily, but I did say I was willing to do it, so I'll take the blame for it. I wish I would have gone out on a rocking song, but I think since everyone else had ballads, they had a desire to maybe have me in a ballad too. Maybe, I don't know. But ultimately, I don't think it would have made a difference because I had a really strong team. Two of my teammates ended up being in the top 4, so I don't think there was any more space for me, because the winner was Todd Tillman, who was on my team and was actually my roommate for like 5 weeks of my time there. And then the second one was Tanisha, and she was second place finisher, and she's got an incredible voice too. She was also on Team Blake. So I really don't think there was a whole lot of room for me, and nor that it would have, so I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference really either way. But my only thing is, God, I would just prefer to go out on a rockin' song. That's the only, other than that, that was about my only kind of complaint, if you will. Like, dang it,
So your version of Jukebox Hero is getting a lot of views on YouTube and whatnot. Have you heard back from anybody from Foreigner?
No. I think originally when it came out, I think they might have liked because both Tanisha, who was on my team, she did a Foreigner song too, I Want to Know What Love Is, and I did Jukebox Hero, and so I think they kind of gave a little shout out to each of us from there. But no, other than that, no. Yeah, I think there's a thought that you'll get. I've had that question in a couple interviews. Well, have you been contacted by a bunch of people since then? And no, I really haven't.
Foreigner's not really Foreigner today anyway. It's
Well, yeah, I mean, and obviously they have a great singer in Kelly Hansen, so I don't think they don't need me to do anything. He's got all that kind of Lou Grahamish tone that I'm really actually too clean for Lou Graham. I mean, like when I listen to the original Lou Graham, what I hear are the tonalities that made Lou Graham so special. And I'm not saying my voice is or isn't special, but it's not Lou Graham's. And so I wouldn't want anybody to think I was a replacement for Lou Graham. That's for sure. He was really special.
Are you still working with Riot 5?
I sure am, yeah.
Is it Riot 5 or Riot V?
It is Riot 5, yeah. It looks like V, but the V is a Roman numeral for 5, so that's pretty confusing for most people. And it's I'm like the 5th chapter because I'm the 5th singer that they've recorded with. Yeah. And we have, 14 or 15 songs written and demoed out. And now I'm waiting for some music to put some vocals on. I only have kind of more finalish music on one of the songs. And I think, I don't know, with all the COVID stuff, the guys haven't been necessarily as motivated to finish the album. The COVID situation can either inspire you and get you motivated and you kick ass and knock an album out quickly, or it can kind of do the opposite to you, And it was a little more the opposite. And I think more than anything, it was like, with Riot, we don't churn out albums every other 5 seconds. And when we do, we really want to be able to play some shows to support it. And we thought we would release an album mid-2000, but, and even beginning of 2021. But the challenge is, putting something out and not being able to support it is not very, very fun. It feels like a waste to us. So we kind of want to wait and get the album out when we can actually then go play some shows to support it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Are you still working with Jack Starr's Burning Star?
I am not. I mean, I'm still friendly with them, but I actually, I just ran to the point where I felt bad to be in the band because I didn't, even though there's not much call for them to play out live, like I don't mean they don't go. I don't mean not that there's call for it, but they don't try to arrange live shows very often. But I was to the point where I was doing like, as much as 8 weeks or so with Riot, and just got to the point where with my family and stuff, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Hey, honey, well, I'm in two bands, and I have to, and that didn't make a lot of sense. And so I actually told them quite a while ago that I had to kind of work my way out, and I wouldn't really be able to play live with them. And that was actually before the third album, Stand Your Ground. And I told them, I said, look, I'll do the album. I won't, I said, maybe it makes sense for you guys to find a new singer to do the album, just so, that person gets the reward of being on the album, gets to play live and stuff. But Jack and Ned, the bass player, both wanted me to do it. So I did. It probably helps that I came free, I think, maybe.
That's always good. So I wanted to mention before we went, this isn't your first solo album, Sonic Healing. I actually listened to your first solo album, Letters from India, and it's not rock and roll, but it is some great adult contemporary singer-songwriter stuff. I loved that album. I love Sonic Healing, but I loved your first solo album.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, in the press releases, they're like, Todd's first solo album. I'm like, well, technically, that's maybe not true. I mean, it really is in the sense of being on a record label. My first solo album it's called Letters from India, and it was inspired by, my letter writing days with my wife when we were pen paling it, and our courtship years in the 90s. And probably 9 of the 12 songs on the album I wrote like back in that period. And I really never had a vision. I never thought I would release it, but I hooked up with a piano player named Francisco Palomo, who was in a band called Holy Hell. He actually played live with Man of War quite a few times too. And that's how I met him. And we worked on one of my songs called The Best I Can, because I just wanted to turn it into a choir piece. And I knew he could map out all the harmonies, and he could do a beautiful piano line. And when that turned out so nice, I was like, well, I've got other ones, can you play bass? Can you do drums and stuff like that? And he's like, well, yeah. And slow but sure, all of a sudden I had this album, and really I wanted it as a gift for my wife more than anything, but I ended up releasing it independently, and all the proceeds went to charity. And I don't know, I had printed 1,000 copies. I think I still have 400 left, but I've had, quite a people enjoy it. I think, it's clearly it's not metal at all. It's very,
right.
Very adult contemporary, piano only ballads, whatnot have you. But I think what helps is it came from a very passionate place in my heart. And I think people can identify with that. And I think if you just love music, and I think if you love good music, you can, it doesn't all have to be metal. Some people are only metal, but but yeah, so that's what I'd say about that one. I love it. I think I'm really, really proud of the album. I think people can enjoy it. I actually was just having a conversation with a guy yesterday who told me that he has From the Father, a song off that album, on his playlist, and then he listens to it almost every day, and it really resonates with him and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. And I know on my Spotify right now, my most streamed song is the song The Best I Can. I'm wondering if that'll change now with the new album out. But yeah, so it's nice. I had people from Spain shoot me like a video of them putting together their Christmas tree with my music playing in the background, and just stuff like that. Even some people from South America, and so it's kind of fun. Yeah, and what really was nice is it was just all mine. You know what I mean? Obviously, Francisco was a huge part of bringing the music together for me, but I wrote all the songs. He didn't change parts around, nothing. And so in a way, I never thought that would even be possible for me to actually just put out an album that was all my own. Whereas this new one, the music isn't mine. I mean, Kurt's the composer on all of it, and I'm the lyricist, and I write the vocal melodies. So.
Well, you got 2 great solo albums to be proud of, the 2017 solo album and Sonic Healing, which is fantastic. I would say it's a 10 out of 10. It's one of the most enjoyable, classic sounding modern rock albums I've heard.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to hear that.
And that's all the questions I have for you. Thanks for joining Metal Express Radio today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I, shout out to all your listeners and viewers, and just thank you for the time and the consideration.